Good morning and welcome everyone. Happy Friday and thanks for joining us here on Adobe Live. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist here at Adobe. It's my pleasure to be streaming to you live once again on one of my favorite days, Friday. And it's a special Friday because it's Vacation Friday. That's right, we're off next week. So I'm already dressed and ready to go in vacation. Reverb Mike, Tim, Sam, Marsha, Sean, if I didn't say Sean already, Caroline, and Rebecca, and Jan, and everyone just keeps popping in and saying things, so I'm just going to start repeating names, so I'm going to stop now. All right, so with that said, I want to thank everyone for being here once again, and let's see, am I seeing a little hesitation? I was just checking the stream just to make sure it's fresh and healthy. I did see a slight pause there for a second, but it looks like it's up and running now. Let's also go ahead and refresh one more page here. And then we'll get into the task of the day. All right, let's do this one more time. Bonjour. All right. I'm looking, there it is. I'm looking for the actual stream. There it is. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick things off. So first and foremost, just a couple housekeeping rules. If you're watching this on Twitter, you're watching this on Facebook, you're watching this on YouTube, that's great. Even if you're watching it on our new YouTube channel, Adobe Live, which is where we're now hosting all the Adobe Live broadcasts, that's great too. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. And that is over at b.net/Adobe Live. So if you've got a question, you've got something you want to ask, you want to say something, then that's the chat that I'm going to be looking at. Those are the names I called off. So I know people are watching all over the world. I know people are watching the replay. Thanks for watching the replay, by the way. I love replay viewers. And so with that said, just check us out over at b.net/Adobe Live. Now, I try and repeat the schedule every week, and I always get it out of place, I'm sure. But just know that we have masterclasses all day on Fridays, kicking things off first thing in the morning with Paul Tranny doing one on graphic design. Then I do photography. Then we have a Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Then Paul comes back and does Photoshop. And then we have Jason doing motion and design, or motion graphics and video and audio, and Howard Pinsky doing UX UI design, and Kyle Webster doing digital painting and drawing, both in Photoshop and Fresco. So all day, plus some daily creative challenges thrown in there for Photoshop, Illustrator, and I believe XD sometimes as well, and video sometimes as well. But those are all mixed in as well into this Friday. So just keep in mind, you've got all day Friday classes to be able to watch. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to talk about what we're going to do right now, since we have less than an hour. Looks like we have like 50 minutes left. So we're going to talk about how to design and create photo books. And we're going to do it all in Lightroom Classic. So it's a tool you already have access to. I'm going to do 100% of the work in Lightroom Classic. And I will talk about the printing and all that. I'm going to show you an example of one. And I'm embarrassed to say that this is my portfolio book that I created, I don't know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And this was supposed to be an annual project. Like I was supposed to create a new book every year. And every year would go by and I would just never get around to updating the book or making one. So this class, or this masterclass, has encouraged me to go ahead, make the new book for 2021. And, because you're always waiting for the next best pictures. Like, oh, I'm going to go do another shoot. Let me make sure I do those pictures first. But there's always going to be another shoot. So at some point, you actually have to go ahead and make a print, make a book, make a whatever. And you have to just say, okay, if I get some great new pictures, they'll go in the next book. So let me show you what it looks like. This is, again, old book. But this is my nice hardbound portfolio book, largest size I think they made at the time. And I just kept this in, I had like the portfolio book I first created when Lightroom first got the book feature. So let's open it up. Okay, and I start off with a text page. I'm just kind of trying to make sure you can see everything. And then I just go into my font. And so you're going to lay out your book for whatever reason you want to lay out a book for. It could be a travel book. It could be a book that you did for a specific vacation. It could be a book for just a particular shoot you did. It could be client work. It could be lots of things. And it doesn't have to be this big. It doesn't have to be the cost. Okay. So someone's saying it's buffering. I do notice the buffering over on YouTube for some reason. I do see it. And I'm not sure what I can do about it because it's not buffering everywhere. It's just a YouTube thing. So it says it's not receiving enough stream data, but it kind of is. So I'm not sure what I can do with that. But anyway, sorry about the buffering. Hopefully the replay will be intact. But yeah. So let's go ahead and do it. And hopefully, like I said, the actual replay will be intact and not buffering just in case you want to go back and watch what you missed. All right, let's go in. And you know what? There is one thing I could try, but I would have to interrupt the stream. So I'm not going to do it. Okay. Let's go in and let's talk about how to make the book. So I'm going to start off in Lightroom Classic. And let's get rid of the banner. And in Lightroom Classic, the best way to set yourself up for success, and I did not do this the very first time that I did not do this the very first time I created that book. I'm reading one of the comments. And it just meant I had more work to do once I was in the book. So someone said Facebook's buffering too, so I'm not sure. Okay, you know what? Let me do one thing. I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to come right back, and hopefully this will fix it. So I'm going to, all right, hopefully I come back, and hopefully this will take care of it. All right, looks like I'm back. It says excellent condition. So hopefully that fixes the buffering issue. Let's make sure I'm back everywhere. I'll wave just so I can see my hand. All right, so hopefully that takes care of it. I just reduced the bandwidth a little bit so that it's not requiring so much bandwidth. Okay, so with that said, like I said, one of the first things you can do to set yourself up for success is you can, okay, so Steven's asking a question. I'll answer that in just a second. You set yourself up for success, which is what I didn't do the very first time, by creating, I had collections for all the photos, but I didn't have them in order that I wanted them in the book. And so I spent a lot of time in the book module rearranging things and adding things. And you will still do some of that, of course, because you'll decide once you're in the book that you want certain images to be next to each other. You want certain images to be a full page. You want certain images to be together on pages with other images, so forth and so on. So Steven's asking, hey, please excuse the dumb question, but what's the advantage of a physical book these days over a portfolio website? You need both. And here's why I say you need both. Because a portfolio website is what your customer sees when you're not there. That's why we have websites. So they can look at your work and see what you do before they even engage with you. But nothing, I'm sorry, digital, Instagram, high res on the web, nothing substitute the physical being able to hold a book in your hand and look at the pictures. Now, that may sound like an old thing. Oh, no one does that anymore. But trust me, if you handed a client a book of your work, they're going to engage with it way more than they would ever do on your website. So again, you need both. One doesn't replace the other. So a portfolio website is great for people, like I said, that aren't with you, that you're halfway across town, whatever, that want to look at your work first. But once you bring them into the studio, once you're meeting with them in person, being able to hand them the best quality of your work says a lot. And also, it's not necessarily for portfolios. Photo books can be just for photo books, for your memories, coffee table books, so forth and so on. So to answer that question, it's just like saying, why do we need books at all anymore? We can just use ebooks, because physical books are still great in times where you want to look at physical books. That's the best way I can answer that. All right, right on. Paper's the thing. So It's like I said, one doesn't replace the other, and I use both. I obviously have a portfolio website that I love and update all the time, and update way more than a book. But the physical book, I've gotten probably as much work with the physical book as I've gotten with the website. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and dive into, like I said, the things that I said you want to set yourself up for success. So for example, I've got a collection over here on the left-hand side for each one of my portfolios. So I've got one for my concert work. I've got one for my my dronography work. I've got one for my iPhone shots. I've got one for just about everything I want to do. Unfortunately, the book module only uses one collection at a time. So I can't just say, grab all the shots out of concerts, grab all the shots out of creative, grab all the shots out of fashion. I have to basically make a new collection with everything in it in the order I'm going to want things in to get to the book module. And that's not a big deal. It's just you need that one collection with everything in it so that you can pull anything in you need. And you can always go back and add more pictures if you forgot to add some, so forth and so on. So let's just do that with a couple of these collections that I already have. I'm going to grab my landscapes collection because everyone just likes good landscapes. I'm going to select all of those images, and I'm going to hit Command N, Control N on Windows to create a new collection. And I'm going to call this TWP 20. Let's do 2021. That way I'll know which collection this is. Portfolio. Okay. And I'm going to put it inside the same collection set. I'm going to say for book, so I know what it's for. All right, for book. I'm going to put it in the same collection set. Most importantly, I'm going to tell it to include the selected photos. That's why I selected them all first. And I don't need to necessarily sync this with Lightroom. You can, but this is more of a, I'm doing this in Lightroom Classic. I don't need these in the cloud necessarily. They're already in the cloud, but if you needed to sync this one collection with the cloud, you can. All right, so once I create that collection, it will dump all those same images in that same collection. And then I can go to the next collection. So for example, I can go to my drone work and I can take all of those shots and then I can just drag those in to that new collection. And again, it will just add them. It's not removing them from the other place. It's not doing anything extra. It's just saying, I'm going to make this new collection with all of these photos that you want. All right, and then last but not least, let's say I wanted to do, since I do portraits, let's say I want to grab my portrait shots too. So I'm going to grab my favorite portraits, and I'm going to drag those in as well. So there we go. All right, so now I've got one collection with everything in it that I want to make the book from. So that's the goal, is to get everything in that collection. Now, let's say I want my portraits first. So now this is what I meant by arranging them in the order you want. So I'm going to take all the portraits and move them up to the top. And I always do that. I always let go in the wrong spot. Hang on. I still did it. Dang it. There's a little line, but you can hardly see it on the left-hand side. So I'm going to just drag it all the way to the left of this one picture. There we go. And then I can move that one where it needs to go. I'll cheat. There we go. Okay, so now I've got all the portraits in the first order, and then all the landscapes and drone shots in the second order. And you can make it whatever order you want, use whatever photos you want. All right, so now that we've got them in the right order, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the book module. So this is what's going to happen when I click on book. It's really automated. It's going to say, you're already in a collection. I'm going to make a book for you right off the bat. So in the minute I click on book, it's spinning because it's going to take a few seconds because it's not just moving to another module. It's laying out the book. Boom, it's done. It's saying, I'm going to make this book for you. Oh, actually, no, take that back. This is the old book that I was working on yesterday. Clear that. If you didn't have a book active, if you hadn't been working on one, it would have auto-populated. It would have done this. That's what it would have done. Now you're saying, well, that's all fine and well, but that's not the book I wanted. And you have to look at what it did. It made a book using a preset. And let's look at what that preset says. Left page blank, right page one photo. Now, I think the one it defaults to is one photo per page. It may default to the one I just had, but it's either one or the other. Now, this is the one that makes a little more sense, where I clear the layout one more time and I hit auto layout. That's probably what you're thinking. Okay, I'm gonna have a book on a page on an image on one side, an image on the other side, an image on one side, an image on the other side. And that's what the auto layout does. And the auto layout's cool for getting started. It's okay. But let me point out some things that you might want to do before you start worrying about the layout. First of all, it remembered the last size I was on. So small square 7 by 7. And right now it's giving me an estimated that this would take 56 pages for all those pictures, and the estimated cost would be $62.27 based on everything else I've got set up here. So we're going to go in and make some changes first and talk about those changes in the book. And then we'll worry about the layout, because the layout doesn't matter until you've decided what kind of book you want first. So let's go over to the upper right-hand corner. Now, since the beginning of the book module, Adobe has partnered with Blurb. Blurb is the printing company for these books. So if you click on Blurb, you can see what kind of book you can make. You can make a magazine, which is, I don't think that was even a choice when I did mine. You can also make a trade book, which is kind of like one of those vertical books that's used for trade. You can also export it out as a PDF or JPEG and have it printed out anywhere else you want. So you can use the book module to design your book, but you don't have to have it printed with Blurb. You don't have to have it printed at all. You can just make a PDF and put it online if you want to. But I do like Blurb's quality, so I have no problem with using Blurb as my printing company. Then the next thing, once you choose the printing company, is the size. Now, like I said, the one I showed you, the big one, was the large landscape book. That was the one that I traditionally did. And since I did that book that first time, what I've learned and what I would probably do going forward is I would have the big book in studio. So like people coming to me get handed the nice big hardcover book while they're waiting, while they're, I'm setting up the studio, while we're talking, they can flip through that. But that book's so big and cumbersome, I don't take it with me very often. So what I would probably do is get a second book that would be, I don't know why it's beeping here, hang on. Oh, hang on. Yes, go ahead and change the size. All right, what I would probably do for a book that I would take with me would be something small. Like the small square is nice. The standard portrait is probably nice too. The standard landscapes is nice, depending on what kind of work you're trying to show. So if I was just showing my portrait work, I'd probably do the standard portraits 8 by 10. If I was doing my combination of both landscapes and portraits, I'd probably do the standard 10 by 8. So smaller book, and this is the other thing I would do. I wouldn't do the it's probably giving me that message again. I probably wouldn't do the hard cover for the book I would take with me. I would absolutely make it a soft cover. And you might think soft cover, that's not a real book. Books are hard cover. Soft cover books actually look really nice. And you can take them with you. Now, the paper type, this is where it gets really, this is what adjusts the price of your book. Premium, there's no bad choice. Like, there is no paper choice that they make that's, oh, these pictures are awful because they're on this paper. But there's some papers that are better than others. So I would say at a minimum, for me, I would use the premium Lustri. If I really want to impress people, if I really want the highest quality paper Blurb has, then I would use the Proline Pearl Photo, which is what I had it on. Now, of course, there's a different price for each one. So, for example, this book right now goes down to $52.43. If I change the paper to the cheaper paper, then it drops the price down another to like $12. So that paper is what really bumped up the cost of that book. It's now $40 versus $52. So if you want to save some money, you can go less paper. If you want to, like for the soft cover book, I'd probably do the premium luster. For the hardcover book, I'd do the Pearl Proline, best quality paper they had. Okay, and again, keep in mind, these estimates will always evolve and change based on the number of pages in your book too. So less pages, cheaper cost, more pages, more cost. To give you an idea, that book I just showed you is like 70 something pages, and hardcover, biggest size. I don't think it was the Pearl Coat back then. It might have been. That book cost me $100. So I had 2 of them done, so $200. So again, I could make that a whole lot cheaper, bring down the paper, bring down the size, bring down the number of pages. Now, last thing to get a discount is this logo page. And notice it's on. And you're saying, well, what's the logo page? I don't want their advertising. Well, let me show you what it is before you judge it. At the very bottom, at the very end, it's this blank page at the very end. And I'm going to go ahead and just go to that layout. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in on it. Here's what it is. It's their logo, and it says design using Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. And they haven't updated this logo in years because it doesn't say Classic, it doesn't say CC, it doesn't say anything. That's what Lightroom used to be called. So it's designed by Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. That's it. So for that one page in the back of the book, and that one small logo that no one's going to notice or care about, unless you're selling this to a client, then that would be important. That changes the price of the book in your favor. So if we go back up and we turn off the logo page and say, no, 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 I don't want your logo. I don't want anyone to know where I got this done. Then that brings up the price to $47. So basically it's about a 20% discount if you have that logo page turned on or not. That's up to you. So is it possible to order tests? Yes, it is. If you click the Learn More, that'll actually take you to the Blurb website, and you can order a sample of all the paper. So that way you can physically touch it, see it, then decide which one you want. Thanks for bringing that up. I might have forgot to talk about that. So if you want a sample, just click the Learn More, and that will take you to their website. And here, let me show it to you. Yes, yes, yes. And that'll take you to their website, and that's where you can learn more about their products and services, and you can order the sample book for the paper quality, so you can see what the papers will look like and feel like. One of the other books I didn't mention yet is the Lay Flat book, and this is just a book that's designed so that there's not that big curve in the middle. It's designed for the paper to lay flat. That's another more expensive book because it lays flat. Okay, so you can, somewhere on here is the ability to order the samples. Okay, so with that said, let me move this page out of the way and let's go back to what we were doing. All right, so 40% discount if you have the logo page. Don't want the logo page, turn it off. And you'll pay, or 20% discount, you'll pay 20% more if you turn it off. Okay, so now let's go ahead and pick the book that I want. So I want standard landscapes, soft cover, premium luster, logo page on because I don't care, but you can turn it off if you do care. And now let's get into what we're looking at. First and foremost, it does this thing where it lays it out in order. So the very first 2 pictures is the back cover and the front cover. And of course it uses the first photo as the front cover, well, because that's the order you put it in. If you don't want that to be the first photo, you can obviously change it to a different photo. You can just drag a different photo into that spot, and now you've changed it. So you can move it around in the frame. You can get it the way you want it to look. You can design your cover any way you want. This last photo is the last photo that was there. So the downside to this cover thing is it also duplicates the images. So it's used that first image on the cover and the first page. It used the last image on the back and the last page. So technically I could say, you know what, I've already got this page. I can delete this page because let's say that would be my back cover. Now, I deleted that page, but that image is still used on the front cover, and that's just letting me know that, hey, that image is there. Now, if you want to know, like in your film strip down here, which images you've used and how much you've used them, there's a little number above each one. So it says a 1 in these cases because these images have been used one time. If it doesn't have a 1 above it, you haven't used that image yet. If it has a 2 or 3 above it, that's how many times you've used it in your book. Now, the other thing that's the elephant in the room, the obvious thing here is this little mark in the upper right-hand corner, this little question or exclamation point. So exclamation point is giving me a quality warning. That's letting me know that for the size image I'm looking at right now, oh, I just missed it. If I hover over it, this photo may not look great because it needs to be at least 200 pixels per inch for that size page, so forth and so on. So that just means that that image is not high enough quality to, or not high enough resolution, I should say, to print in that spot. Now, that's an old image, let me just for the sake of testing stuff here, if I go drag a different image in here, I don't get that warning because this image was taken with a newer camera, higher megapixels, so forth and so on. So that warning went away. Now, can I undo that? Yeah, let me undo it. Let me show you now, because we're 2021 in Lightroom. Let's say no, I want to use that image on the cover. I don't care if it's low res, but I don't want it to print bad. Can I fix it? Yes, you can. So let's go to that image. There it is. Let's go back to the grid. And I got that image selected. And now let's go ahead and, I don't know if I can do it with a PSD. We're about to find out. Enhance. Yeah, let's super resolution, because now we can super res it. Now we have super resolution in the latest versions of Lightroom, in Lightroom Classic. So I can go ahead, and no, I don't want to create a stack. I can go ahead and enhance that, and it will make a new image that's double the resolution. So I might be able to get away with that image if I use the newer one that Lightroom's making for me right now, and it's going to make it for me and put it right back in the same collection. And there it is. So there's one that should be a DNG. That's the new one. And we look at the sizes up here. This one's now 4570 by 6857 versus the original, which was 2285 by 3429. So it literally doubled the resolution. Now, if I go back to the book, still going to be the bad one in that place, because this is the one down here in the film strip that, if I get out of your way, that I hadn't used yet, and this is the one I have used. So that's why the numbers are very important. They show you which ones you're actually using. So if I now drag that one in its place, resolution warning goes away, because I've doubled the resolution using the super resolution feature that's now a part of, it was originally a part of Camera Raw, now it's part of Lightroom and Lightroom Classic as well. All right, now we've learned that, and we've also seen that I can drag and drop. So all of this design is drag and drop. You can drag and drop, move things around, you can move things in the frame itself, or cell, they call them cells. So if they don't quite look the way you want, you can kind of resize them or relocate them in the cell you want. Now let's get into the actual design of a page. I'm gonna just randomly, we don't want Tony's head to be cut off. We don't want his head to be cut off either. All right, I'm gonna start getting into, see, once you start doing that, you can't stop. I'm gonna get into, let's go down some of the landscapes. Let's get into some of the design part of this. Now, when you, let's talk about the views first. So we're looking at the, I don't know what they're called. This is the multi-page view. And then we can look at the spread view. And then we can look at the single page view. So if I click on a page and I go to spread view, that will show me the spread view. So it's showing me just the one spread, so I can concentrate on what I'm doing there. I can easily take a picture that's on one side of the spread, swap it, and once you drag it onto a different picture, they just swap, even if it's on different pages. I can also, and a lot of this stuff is going to be fairly new that I didn't have when I first created my book back years ago, and it would have made life so much easier. Now when you click on a photo, before you used to have to go to a panel and do all your sizing and all that stuff. Now you can literally just grab the corner and size the cell. Now I'm quick to want to move it, and I'm always dragging the picture, but just note, if you want to move the cell, there's a handle for that right in the middle of the photo. So that's how you move the cell to a different location. So you can literally redesign a book page just by dragging the handles for the cell, and your picture by default is on autofill to fill the frame. So that might be a better looking image for this page. I can go full bleed. I can always drag it off the edge of the pages, no problem, because the book will be printed full bleed no matter what. Can these images be in any format, or do they have to be converted to JPEG first? William asked the #1 question that people always want to know when they're making a book. Do I have to do something special to the photos first? Absolutely not. They can be in whatever format Lightroom supports. Some of these are JPEGs, some of these are DNGs, some of these are Photoshop files. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as Lightroom supports the format and they're in Lightroom, you don't have to do anything first as far as format is concerned. What you should do is do all your editing first. So like if you want to adjust it in Lightroom, go do all your adjustments in Lightroom. If you want to make changes in Photoshop, go do all your changes in Photoshop. Yes, you should do all that. But you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to export them and re-import them. If they're in Lightroom, they're ready to go in a book, as long as they're enough resolution. Now, even if it wasn't enough resolution, let me go back up to the cover for a second. Back cover wasn't enough resolution either. Well, maybe I just, instead of up-resing that, if I just make it smaller, now it's enough resolution. Because it was basically saying it's not enough resolution for that size. As soon as that exclamation point goes away, that photo is now enough resolution. So you can do it either way. You can make it a super res, or you can just say, no, I'll just make it smaller and put other photos on that page, or just have white space. White space, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do it either way. All right, where were we? We were working on the waterfall. There we go. Now, a couple other things. When I select a page, it gets the yellow border around it. If I want to select both pages, I just shift click and get the yellow border around both pages. You'll learn why that's important, because if you ever want to move a whole spread and put it somewhere else, you need to select both pages at the same time. All right, next up, let's go in and go back to where we were in the spread. Now let's talk about design. Remember when I picked the original auto layout preset, and it was basically one page, one photo on the left, one photo on the right, full page, blah, blah, blah. Just think of the auto layout as your starting point. You don't ever have to leave them all that way. What did I not answer? Can you put multiple pictures? Yes, I'm about to get to that right now, Bruce. All right, so you don't ever have to leave it that way. So you'll notice that when I click on the page and get that little yellow border around it to let me know it's selected, there's a little selector in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's the gold, that's the magic right there. Because what that lets you select when you pop it up is it lets you select your page template for that specific page. So even though you started out with one-on-one, and you can move them around, you can make them smaller and bigger, you don't have to live with one-on-one. You can go into this template selector, and as to answer Bruce's question, you can see now that I can have 1 photo per page, 2 photos per page, 3 photos per page, 4 photos per page. And by the way, when we get into these multiple photos, 2-page spreads and all that, and then you have portfolio travel, we'll show you what some of that stuff does. But to answer your question, you're basically telling Lightroom, show me all the 1 photo templates, show me all the 2 photo templates, show me all the 4 photo templates. So if I say 2 photos per page, then at the bottom, it shows me all of those templates. So that way I can then decide, for example, let's say I pick this layout, then I can decide, oh, you know what? I kind of want this photo and this photo because they tell that story in Iceland, whatever. They don't go together, but if they did, it would tell that story. So you can absolutely have multiple photos per page to reduce the number of pages, because This way, now you see it created an empty page. I could remove that page and I can keep making multiple photos per page to not have 50 pages. Maybe I have 40 pages instead because I'm combining some. Now, at the same time, let me show you the one thing that we all kind of like agree on in Lightroom or in the book module. If you ever want people to go, wow, I'll do it on this one. I'm going to select the template picker, and I'm going to say 2-page spreads. I'm going to pick this one, full bleed. But I'm going to, and it did it for both pages, obviously. So now what I have here is I have one photo that goes across both pages. And when people get to that page, let me see, I'm sure I have some in my book because that was like, I tried not to overdo that feature because I loved it so much. But when people get to that, they're like, wow, because that just screams professional book. Yeah. So when you do one of these, where it's just one photo across the whole spread, it just screams wow, especially if it's a great photo. So you can't go wrong when you have a full 2-page spread. And yeah, just don't overdo it. Like, don't make every single page that way. And of course, it only makes sense for pictures that are wide. But when you do it, it just really makes the point that this is going to be amazing. And for example, I could say, well, that Iceland picture would be better if it were this one as a 2-page spread, and then I don't want two 2-page spreads together, so maybe I'd rearrange them and put that 2-page spread after some other pages. So you just really start to get into what you want it to look like, and that's what we're doing now. So we picked. So what do we do first? We put everything in a collection. Then we chose the kind of book and size we wanted. And then we auto-imported everything in to a standard default preset, which you can create your own presets, by the way. So it will make your auto imports that much better going forward. And then you just start tweaking and designing your pages the way you want. All right, let's move on. I'm not seeing any buffering reverb, Mike, so hopefully you're making a funny there, a joke. All right, so next up, let's talk about some more of the design aspect. Now, the other question I'm surprised no one's asked yet is, what about text? Because it's great that you can have all these photos, but what if you wanted to tell a story? Like, what if I wanted to say, let me drag this photo in here, and let me redesign this page a little bit. So let's go to the spread, and let's choose this as a one photo, but I want to make it kind of tall because it was a waterfall. There we go. And I want to move it over to one side. Maybe, I'm trying to decide which side. I'll move it over to that side. And then I say, okay, now that I've got that picture there, I want to talk about what this shot was all about. So I want to add some text in this spot. So if I right click, as long as I have the page selected, if I right click, then I get this flyout menu or this contextual menu that lets me choose what I want to add. So I can add a photo, another cell, which is again another fairly new feature. Or I can add a photo description. And basically a photo description, think of that as just a text cell. You can go in, you can put that text cell wherever you want. You can make it as big as you want, as big as you need. And then here, if I go to one page instead, then you can actually copy and paste your text in, or you can type it in. So this was one of the first waterfalls we got to, and it was kind of a climb to get to it, but it was worth it. And that's actually a true story. All right, once you're there, you can go into once you have your text, you can go into the type or the text cell, the type cell, And that's where you can pick your font. So if you like Myriad Pro, you're going to get Myriad Pro by default. You can pick whatever font you have. I don't know what font I want. Myriad Pro is fine. But let's say that I just want to change it to maybe Minion Pro. So I can change it to Minion Pro. I can change it to whatever size I want. So I can make it nice and big if I needed it to be big. I can make it small if I needed it to be small. It tends to make text really big by default. So just keep it in mind that standard printed text is like 10 points. You can certainly go bigger, but if you're making like a headline or something, but if it's just reading text, probably don't want to make it much bigger than 10 point. You can even go smaller, like 9 point, if it's just really a caption or a description. But if you want it to be big, go big. You can make it whatever font you want, and you can go big if you want to. For example, let me give you an example of just that. Let's go back to this page, and let's say that I wanted to go here, and let's add another cell. Add a photo description cell, move it where I want it to be, and line it up. And everything's kind of snapping in place because behind the scenes, there's a photo grid. So in the grid, you can make it visible if you want to. And you can snap to snap to the guide, show the page bound, show the photo grid, and you can snap to the cells or the grid. So it's your choice. And I think I usually snap to grid. All right, so now let's say I want to go here. Amazing views. I'm just making this up as I go along. Amazing views. And then I go in and I say, well, I really want that to look fancy. So I go find one of my fancier fonts that I love, like BiCMScript Pro 3, and I really make that nice and big. And I go in. Let's keep that all in one line. There we go. And you can make it whatever color you want as well. So you can bring up the color picker. You can slide it up so you get color. And here's a trick. You can, of course, sample the colors in the color well to make it whatever color you want. But if you hold it down and just hold it down and drag out of that cell into the page, then you can actually get colors from your photo. So now I've made it the same kind of purplish color that I tinted that photo with. And now that becomes the text color as well. All right. So any font you want, any size you want, any text you want, anywhere you want. And I'm surprised this question hasn't come up, but I'm going to address it right now just because you're going to think about it later and it's going to be too late. So right click, add cell, add photo, because I just want to design this and put a photo wherever I want. And yes, photos can overlap each other. So they don't have to necessarily just be next to each other. You can actually overlap photos. So think of this as almost like a little miniature InDesign inside of Lightroom Classic. And you can move that anywhere you want, and that's the way it would print if you were to print this page. So anything you want, anywhere you want. All right, next up, let's, all right, cool. What else was I going to do? I've heard that photographers are bad at curating their own photos, but I don't care. It looks like it's so much fun. It is fun. And that's why I said I'm shocked that I haven't made more. I've made other books, but like I haven't updated my portfolio book. So just keep that in mind. It's not like I haven't made a book in 7 years. I haven't made my portfolio book in 7 years. I've made lots of books for specific trips and vacations that I've done in the past. All right, so let's go in and let's go back and keep working. Let's talk about, since we have like less than 15 minutes left, let's talk about a couple things in terms of template work. So let's say you want to design a new, you want to design a page so you can keep using that page over and over again. So let's say I really like what I did to this, here, we'll just use this page since it's already got some work on it. I really like what I did to this page. Well, first and foremost, if you pull up the template browser, you'll notice that, actually, no, I take that back. If you right click on the page, there we go. You can save it as a custom page. So right click on the page, save as custom page, which means I like what I did to the design. I may want to use this again with different photos. Save as custom page. And now when I go to a different page, let's say I go to, let's use one of the portrait pages. Let's say I go to this page and I pull up my choices and I go to custom pages. There's my custom page. So here's the custom page that I created. I click and now I've got that same design to use with other photos. So for example, I can put all my guys here. There we go. So drag and drop, and the text is there, the text box is there. It doesn't have any text in it because you just use it as a custom page. Now, let's make one more custom page. Let's make a page that's kind of more of a, I started kind of doing it with that other one, but let's do a layout here. Let's say that I want a left page that's full bleed like this one. I want a right page that is more like a fine art design, which simply means that we'll have white space. Hang on. It's kind of cool that you can even do this while you're in the full spread view. Oh, why can't I move that? Hold on. Oh no, I can't move that. Why is that locked for some reason? All right, let me change that to a different one. Okay. All right, so let's redesign this. Let's make it a fine art kind of page with, and fine art simply means there's more space at the bottom than there is anywhere else. Let's make this a fine art page. And so now I've got these two this look that I want. So I want a full page on the left and that fine art look on the right. If I select the two pages and I right click, I can, oh, I can't do that one by one. Then, by the way, you can copy and paste layouts. I should mention that while I'm here. Let's just do it this way. Let's do, actually, let's go back up here. There we go. This is what I was trying to get to. So here's what I want to get to. Basically, what I want to do is I want to create my own preset for auto import, for auto layout. So go to your auto layout presets, go to the very bottom that says edit auto layout preset, and then you can choose what you want on each side. So on this side, I want a fixed layout, and I want it to be one photo that's going to fill on that side. On this side, I want one photo, but I want it to be perhaps one photo. I kind of want this. All right. Okay, so now I got that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. It's going to ask me to name my preset, and I'm just going to do left one photo, right, I'll call it fine art. So that way I know what that template's all about. So now when you do your auto import or auto layout for your next book, you have your own template that will lay out all the pages and give you the starting point you're looking for. So just know you have that option as well. All right, next up, let's go back and let's go in. We did text. Oh, I knew there was one thing we hadn't done yet. So let's go and take one of these photos and let's make it smaller. And let's go into that spread. And let's choose a different layout for that. There we go. Make it smaller. Make it whatever size I want. Move it where I want it. I'm just trying to make sure I give it some white space around it. Now that I've given it the white space around it, if you go into the page background, there we go. apply, and I'm going to turn off apply background globally because I don't want it to happen. If I leave that on, whatever I do here is going to happen to every page. I don't want it to happen to every page. I just want it to happen to this one page I'm working on. First and foremost, you can go ahead and change your background color. So it defaults to all the pages being a white background, but you can change the background color to whatever color you want and make the page whatever color you want. And that's cool. That's how in my portfolio book, all my background pages were black instead of white. All right, so that's nice. But here's my favorite feature is this drag a photo here feature. Because I'm going to take the same photo and I'm going to drag it into that well in the panel instead. And when I do that, you'll notice, by the way, let me turn off the background color. You'll notice that it ghosted her image behind her. And so you can have that kind of like as a design element. You can put, and it doesn't have to be the same photo, by the way. It could be a different photo. So it could be the same person, perhaps a different look, or the same location, perhaps a different angle. And that way you can have that ghosted in there. You can also change the opacity, so you can have it be less opacity, more opacity. You can have it be 100% opacity, but then you're just putting two pictures on top of each other. So you can kind of ghost a picture out as your background behind another photo. All right, next up, while we're doing the background color, we got a couple minutes left. Let's do, instead of a photo, there's two other categories. There's travel and wedding. So if this were a wedding book, then you have these little ornaments or these little graphics that you can apply as the background. So for example, I can say, make that the background. And it just gives you something decorative to put behind your photos. If you fly that out again and you choose travel, then you get kind of travel cool stuff like a map or, and here we'll bump up the opacity. So you can have just kind of something cool behind your photos. Can you blur the background photo? The answer is no. You can blur it first. So you can make a virtual copy, blur it first, and then, or Photoshop it, blur it, then bring that in. Because again, it's using whatever photos are on your film strip. So make a blurred copy first, drag it in, then it's blurred. All right, last couple minutes here. We're running out of time. I just want to make sure I cover the stuff that I wanted to get done. I think I got it all done for the most part. I want you guys to go have fun making books. Oh, let me go back to the book module. Last but not least, when you're done, which I'm not, just kind of getting started here, I would go remove all the blank pages. Remove page. And I would have done this and make sure all the pages that are going to end up being next to each other look good next to each other. But for example, like I would have these pages swapped just because you want things looking into the book. So like, see how she's looking? This is just a design tip. See how she's looking more this way than that way? So you want her on that side. So she's kind of facing into the book. Tony's looking this way. So you want Tony looking into the book, not away from the book. So just keep those kinds of things in mind. All right, so I would go rearrange everything, get everything just right. When I'm ready, then the last thing at the very bottom here is send to blurb. So when I click send to blurb, it's letting me know, hey, you got some problems with photos here. But it would let me know that this book, as it stands right now, is $39.27. No, that's not including shipping and all that. But that's letting me know. And you would then sign in to your blurb account. If you don't have a blurb account yet, there's a way to create one right here, not a member, and you go set one up. And you should, whether you're ready to print a book or not, you should go set one up because you want to be on their mailing list because a lot of times they have sales, they have discount codes. So you can go design your book, have it ready to go. They make a discount, boom, you apply the discount code and have your book printed. So you don't have to do it now. You don't have to have the book printed now, but you can go ahead and design it and have it ready to go for their next sale when they send you a discount. So go ahead and create an account, whether you're going to print a book right now or not. Saw another question. Blurb has a store and you can sell books and print as order as well. Yep. All right. Somebody else said they're selling there. So I hope you guys got something out of that. I hope you go have some fun. Just go make a book for fun. Like if you're not ready to pay to have one printed, just go see what you can design and go see how it would look when you lay it out. I had a lot of fun creating my portfolio book. I spent like a couple days on it before I actually sent it off to be printed, but it was a blast. All right, stay tuned for the Daily Creative Challenge. Cheers, everyone, and we'll catch you 2 weeks from today. Bye, everybody.